Okay, that was the drama that played out in court on Friday, the 6th of December, 2019, during court proceedings in the case of felony, treasonable felony against the owner of Sowore Reporters, Mr. Sowore. As you recall, on that day, immediately the case was adjourned till February next year. Sowore and some of the people and his lawyer suspected that the DSS wanted to rearrest him, went back into the court. That drama was much liked by across the world, not just in Nigeria. And then eventually he was rearrested by the DSS. Let's quickly listen to what his lawyer, that is senior advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana, says about the incident.
This morning, I saw a bunch of lumpen elements sponsored by the government, by the State Security Service, to demonstrate in the premises of the court against Mr. Sowore and Bakare. From that moment, I did some investigation, and I got information while I was in the court that a new charge was going to be filed, and that the Director General of the State Security Service had ordered that Mr. Sowore be abducted in the premises of the court. And that is what is already going on. You will recall that I did inform the court that the order was obeyed yesterday, and that there are new moves to file a new charge. The prosecutor or the prosecution team said in the open court that no such information was available to them. But here we are now. The court is being prevented from carrying out its normal duty because there was a move to forcefully take them away from the court. As officers of the court, we are going to take appropriate steps. As a matter of fact, we have a sister case in court number 5, where we are also challenging the illegal detention for our clients by the State Security Service. But I can assure you, what happened or what is happening now will not go away unchallenged. We either run this country on the platform of the rule of law, or we resort to gangsterism, which is what is going on. Exactly. But we're not going to allow it, because we fought against military dictators, including General Muhammadu Buhari, and defeated all of them. Yes. All.
So you're telling Nigeria,
under a democratically elected government, we are not going to allow anybody, no matter how highly placed, to put the rule of law or to treat the rule of law with disdain. Having complied with the order of court, right? What is therefore required is for the State Security Service to allow our clients to enjoy their limited freedom, limited. Because both of them have been restricted to Abuja and Osogbo respectively. So there's no basis for this fascist approach. Please.
Okay, that was cancer to Omoyele Sowore. Mr. Femi Falana, senior advocate of Nigeria, trying to explain what happened in court on Friday. Okay, while that drama was ongoing, journalists also tried to get Sowore's opinion on what was happening. Let's quickly listen to what Sowore said during the drama.
My calm down now. My only words on record before they kill me. Yes. This is an attempt to assassinate me.
Yes.
And they were trying to shoot, and they dragged me down in front of a judge after I've been granted bail. Yes. I said it to you yesterday that these are a bunch of lawless people, and that they were reluctant to respect the other. Now they have shown it to the whole country. Yes. What is important for Nigerians to know is that I am not going to give up until every Nigerian benefits from a country that is theirs. And I've made it.
Okay, that was Moyele Sowore. But on Saturday, the DSS came out, issued his own statement. And let me quickly read to you excerpt of that particular statement. It has become important that the Department of State Services responds to the serial misinformation being circulated in the media about his involvement in the incident that occurred on 6 December 2019 at the Federal High Court, Abuja. It is instructive to note that during the court proceeding of the day, on the reference, Defense Counsel Femi Falana called the attention of the judge to his suspicion that the service was planning to rearrest Omoyele Sowore immediately after the court session. The court discountenanced his alarm and asserted that the service was law-abiding and would not engage in such, and subsequently adjourned to February 2020. However, when Sowore stepped out of the court and cited operatives of the service within the premises, he ran back into the courtroom in a bid to shield him from an imaginary arrest. His uncontrollable supporters mobbed him while chanting, "You can't arrest him." Thus, the pandemonium that ensued. A critical look at the videos in circulation would convince any objective viewer that there was no DSS personnel during the entire period the Sowore crowd acted out his orchestrated drama. His personnel were never at any time involved in the incident. In actual fact, it was his people who seized him. And from the latest development, it has become obvious that the intent for such mischief was meant for simply to serve a propagandist purpose, as well as bring the service to disrepute. Eyewitness and several media accounts have disclosed that the court had adjourned peacefully without an untoward incident when suddenly the unruly crowd imported into the courtroom went into a frenzy on the mere suspicion that DSS was sighted at the court premises. The eventual rearrest of Sowore by the DSS was effected outside the courtroom. His lead counsel has affirmed this. The DSS, as a professional, responsible and law-abiding organization, could not have invaded a courtroom, including the one presided over by a respected judge who is not only handling his case but whose order was unconditionally obeyed within a 24-hour ultimatum. The service owes the judiciary in utmost respect and will continue to work with it for national peace and public safety in Nigeria. It has therefore become unarguable that and raises a moral question as to who between Sowore and the service dislikes or disobeys the courts. In this regard, public attention may be drawn to the 25th July 2019 statement of Sowore that "I'm not talking or protest, I'm embarking on revolution. Don't tell me about legal implications of what a judge will say. I don't care." End of quote. On 5th December, when Sowore was released, he had at a Transcorp Hilton Hotel, Abuja, addressed a group of persons who he reassured of his cause to create anarchy in the country. It may be recalled that the service had on 3rd December 2019 raised alarm about a plot to destabilize the country. It is quite remarkable that the plot had already started playing out. To ensure this objective is further achieved, some persons and groups are scurrying to seize the opportunity of the misleading court incident and the wrong narrative against the DSS to organize an insurrection in the country. They have continued to forcefully curry and mobilize international sentiment and attention through clear misrepresentation of facts for their selfish ends. For emphasis, it should be noted that Sowore is facing trial not as an activist, a journalist, or a politician, but for his resort to call for violence, forceful takeover of government, and suspected transnational illegal activities. It is most unfortunate that Sowore, shortly after being released from custody, based on court order, resorted to act inimical to security. To this effect, only Sowore has been rearrested, as his co-defendant Oladimeji was not picked up even when Falana had promised to deliver him to the service that is not presently interested in him. Those sections of the populace have been fed with spurious narratives about this development. Nigerians and the international community should not be gullible or even vulnerable to the machinations of groups desirous of misleading them. Okay, that is what I can take from the statement of the DSS. I will still read to you in the course of the program the counter statement issued by Femi Falana Counsel to Omoyele Sowore, and then we'll listen to some other thing in the course of the program. My name is Oladimeji Daniels, and this is welcoming you to this edition of the Roundtable. Let me quickly welcome my guest, Mr. Zadok Akitoye, Public Secretary of the PDP in Ondo State. You're welcome on the program.
Thank you.
I have in the house a legal practitioner, Mr. Moraki Ogele. You're welcome on the program.
Thank you very much.
And of course, public commentator and chartered accountant, our open bride, Mr. Rotimi Ogele. You're welcome on the program.
Thank you very much.
Okay, let me begin from the lawyer, Mr. Ogele. You saw what happened on Friday. I know that ever since Nigerians have been, condemning and lambasting the DSS, and even the NBA made some demands, but I will still mention that in the course of the program. What do you make of what happened
honestly,
on Friday?
May I refresh our listeners with this? I think by 2015, a group of DSS, they invaded the official quarters of Supreme Court judges in a violent manner. According to them, they were looking for hard currency. They carried this out on a very savage manner, in which they picked up all the Supreme Court judges, those women. They took them to their offices, they maltreated them, but at the end of the day, they could not find anything. Then let me remind you again that I think a year back or 2 years back, they again invaded the National House of Assembly. I don't know what they're looking for again.
When Oshibajo was acting president.
So this is not their first time or second time. So again, I'm not surprised.
But the DSS says it did not invade the court. Its men were not within the court, were not inside the courtroom.
I'm coming to that. I think we are now moving toward the Diamond regime in this country, whereby a judge will just picked up, and throw him into jail, or probably they will just carry him there, then they kill him. Thereafter, they will set his vehicle on fire. They say he got accident. And let me tell you, they really, they invaded the court that day. We witnessed everything. You have been looking at it. So I think it's practically, you don't need to be a senior advocate of Nigeria or to be a lawyer. You can say that what they have done, what they did that day is patently illegal. Contempt of court. It's as if you are desecrating the temple of justice, so to say, the temple of justice. And let me tell you, there is a separation of power in this country. The separation of power. We have judiciary, we have executive, and we have legislation. So these three arms of government, they ought to be free from each other. But what we are seeing now, the executive, let me remind you, they have invaded legislation, they have invaded judiciary, and every here and there. It's only in this country you will see a deputy president, deputy president of the Senate kneeling down before the president, saying that I thank you. It's this country that a speaker will summon, a military officer. They won't come. They will say, I go and report you to the presidency. All what I'm saying is this. I think what DSS have been doing in this country is not proper at all. Even during the military.
Okay. But when you read through their statement, the statement of the DSS saying it never invaded the court, that it was absolutely court proceedings that Sowore was rearrested, and even Femi Falana, his counsel, accompanied them to the DSS office. And then you read, I'll read that now, the statement of Femi Falana, which you issued outside the DSS, issued his own statement. there appears to be a lot of he said, she said in this case.
Let me tell you, they are only denying the obvious. We have seen everything in total. Through the media, through paper and everything. We have seen it. To the point of they were cocking their guns inside the court, whereby the judge fled. And they met her. Or they met him, because there's no woman at the bar. They met him in House Sheba, apologizing for what they have done so far. Because there are still cases pending. And the judge told them, please, go and take your date. Go and take this from the registrar of the court. Let me tell you, I don't know what they are doing about this. 2014, the president of this country, the present president, came out when he lost the presidential election, said that I am going to make this government ungovernable in this country. The third day, there are crowds, violence occurred, killing, maiming, burning of houses, and has ever been charged for treason of offense. And let me remind you, Sowore contributed to the success of Buhari as president of this country, because he really attacked Jonathan as at that time. Then why not now be in jail? This is what we are saying. What I'm trying to say, I see no reason. Even how security and DSS should just enter court premises inside the courtroom to go and arrest. The decent thing, the lawful thing, the legal thing they should have done is that you wait outside, no matter the crowd. And they will put the crowd aside. Let me tell you, Talofeku, who want to die in this country, by the time now they up, everybody will run out.
Okay, quickly, let me quickly read example of Falano's statement. Our attention has been drawn to the self-contradictory press release of the SSS, in which an unsuccessful attempt was made to absolve itself of responsibility for the armed invasion of the Federal High Court, Abuja Judicial Division in general, and the desecration of Court 7 of Justice Ijoma Ojukwu in particular, as well as the illegal rearrest of Omoyele Sowore. First, pretending to forget that the abominable desecration of the Federal High Court was covered live by domestic and international media outfits and journalists, some of whom were also direct victims of the gangsterism, barbarism, and brutalization displayed by the officers of the service on Friday. The service has conducted eyewitness account of what transpired with the aim of showing that officers of the service were not involved in the rearrest of Sowore. Second, the service argues on the one hand that the arrest of Sowore was stage managed by supporters in order to give the service a bad name, while is also admitting that at the same time the officers of the service arrested Sowore outside the court. Having declared that the service arrested Sowore outside the court despite the stage managing argument, what the Nigerian people want to see happen is the immediate release of Sowore pending his trial as ordered by the court. Indubitable facts confirming desecration of court. However, following the following facts underscore our insistence that the service was solely responsible for the desecration of the hallowed chambers of the court. By the advantage of information technology, the whole world has placed responsibility for the gangsteric desecration of the court on the DSS. The SSS cannot extricate itself from the abominable acts of December 6, 2019. When I informed the court that fresh charges were being filed against our clients and that they could be rearrested, the prosecution denied any such plan. As soon as the case was adjourned, the SSS passed on Sowore and caused a disruption of the proceedings of the court. Having taken over the court, Justice Ojukwu already rose and asked the registrar to adjourn all other cases. After the learned trial had risen for the day, she summoned the heads of the prosecution and defense teams to her chambers. When the lead prosecutor, Liman Hassan, denied knowledge of the invasion of our court, she directed him to invite the head of the SSS team in the court. When challenged to justify the invasion of the court, the officer could not. He apologized to Justice Ojukwu on behalf of the SSS. The judge then directed the officer to withdraw the SSS operatives from the courtroom. The directive was complied with as the operatives withdrew from the courtroom but rushed out to join their colleagues who had taken over the entire court. Notwithstanding that the SSS could not produce any warrant of arrest for Sowore, the defense team decided that I should accompany him to the SSS headquarters in view of his physical brutalization inside the courtroom and the open threat to his life. I did and ensured that he was driven in my car to the SSS headquarters, where I handed him over to the officers on duty. Thereafter, I requested for a meeting with the head of the SSS, but I was informed that I was not in the office. Regardless of the form of appearance, the officers of the service inside Court 7 were identifiable by their rules and act of seizing Sowore and pinning him down. It is an utter poor reasoning to say that Sowore's supporters were also those bent on injuring him in order to arrest him. The argument of the service in this respect is as unfortunate and pitiable as the earlier argument of the service in respect of the late Chief Gani Fayemi, who was once accused of wanting to set ablaze his own house. If Sowore's supporters subjected him to such brutalization in the presence of SSS operatives, why were they not arrested for contravening the provisions of the Anti-Torture Act 2017? Okay, that is all I can take about from Falana's statement. He wrote a lot of things. Okay, let me quickly add this to it. The SSS says it is a law-abiding institution, but why did you refuse to comply with the order of Justice Taiwo to release Sowore? Why did the SSS threaten to report the judge to the NJC for granting bail to Sowore? Why did the SSS subject the order of Justice Ojukwu for the release of Sowore to his own approval by asking the sureties already verified by the judge to report themselves to it? Why did the SSS wait for the 24-hour ultimatum issued by the trial judge before releasing Sowore and Bakari? Let me turn to Mr. Zadok. When you listen to this and then what the SSS said in their own statement, what do you make of this back and forth?
We don't need a soothsayer to tell us that the SSS is not being truthful, and they are also not understanding the principles of devolution and separation of powers. The SSS, as an arm of government, as a department in government, is under the executive arm of government, and its existence is based on the fact that the executive arm of government has the duty of securing the country. Now, there are three arms of government: the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. It's an affront, a desecration of democracy, a total disrespect to our nationhood for a parastatal of government, a department, an appendage. At best, we would underscore them by saying that a service unit to go into the hallowed chambers of the court and do anything disrespectful to the law. We are existing as a nation because there are laws that says that we are a nation. There's no Nigerian that is born of whom permission had to be taken from anybody before they are born. But because we all live together, we have created a constitution which assumes that we all have agreed to live together in this place. And so that constitution supersedes any other thing we do within this country as long as we are Nigerians. And so if there's a constitution that details how things must be done, it is expected that everybody working in government will submit itself to the constitution. The constitution says that there's a judiciary that interprets the law, the constitution and the rules, and it is its interpretation that we all must abide by. So if it has interpreted and said that this citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria deserves his freedom as at this time, it becomes important and must be underscored that it should have been released immediately. We cannot on one side claim to submit to the rule of law, or claim to try and provide administer the rule of law, and then the other side we desecrate, we disobey, we insult the rule of law, we insult the very essence of which we are Nigerians. And so we need to go back to the SSS and say that if the court had pronounced this man free or temporarily free, any of us who disagrees with that does not have a right to exercise our own right above the law. What happens in the DSS is common in the Nigerian space. Every parastatal, even in the public service, every parastatal of government believes that they have the right to interpret the law and to execute actions based on their own personal interpretation. So if you have a director general who doesn't like Sowore, for instance, he won't care about the law, because in that place he's the chief executive officer and the president of the DSS. And so he doesn't seem to feel at all times, he puts the interpretation of the judiciary, of the court, based upon his own personal interest or personal opinion. And there's no personal opinion in the law. It's not what you think. It's not what you believe. It's not what your religious inclinations point you to. What matters is that the law has said that this should be done. You go and do it. If the law sets a man free, that man is free. And so we must come back to, I must appreciate Barrister Femi Falana. He's been brilliant in virtually all the things he's done here. And the DSS has not shown that it is prepared to engage a brilliant lawyer like that. And so they keep fumbling. Number one, you should not have said that you did not go to the police, to the courts to arrest Sowore, whereas where's Sowore at the moment? He's in your care. So if a man has been granted freedom by the court and right now is incarcerated and you say you did not go there to arrest him, what then did you go there to do? To provide him security? He's a citizen of Nigeria, and if the law of this country says that he must be freed, otherwise there's no reason for other citizens of the country to respect or obey the law. Nobody then should respect or obey the law, because we have systems that say that when the law says this thing must not be done, we can subject it to our interpretation and desires. No, it's not acceptable. That means those that are in the prison, that are being accused of murder, should be set free. Because then they can tell the warders, open the gates, let us walk out, because they don't need to obey it.
Okay, let me quickly ask Mr. Rotimi Ogule. Ever since this went down on Friday, a lot of people have been, pointing accusing fingers at the Buhari presidency. But the presidency issued its own statement. Let me quickly read that to you before I pose my question to you. The presidency notes some of the insinuations in the media about the arrest by the Department of State Services of the agitator, Omoyele Sowore. That's the way they call him, agitator. The DSS does not necessarily need the permission of the presidency in all cases to carry out its essential responsibilities that are laid down in the Nigerian Constitution, which was the foundation for the restoration of democracy in our country in 1999. However, it should not surprise anyone who has followed his actions and words that Sowore is a person of interest to the DSS. Sowore called for a revolution to overthrow the democratically elected government of Nigeria. He did so on television and from a privileged position as the owner of a widely read digital newspaper run from the United States of America. He founded an organization, Revolution Now, to launch, in their own words, days of rage with the publicized purpose of fomenting massive unrest and the elected administration's overthrow. He was a presidential candidate who ran and lost, and as the flag bearer of the African Action Congress in the February 2023 general elections. Nigeria's democracy was a long time in the making and was achieved after decades of often harsh military-led overthrows of government. The kind of situation Sowore was advocating. To believe in and desire armed revolution is not normal amongst human rights activists, as Sowore has been incorrectly described. Okay, you listen to, this is the statement by let me quickly add this to it. The Boko Haram militants who are behind the violence also fancy themselves to be fighting for some sort of revolution. That means the president is trying to draw comparison between Sowore and Boko Haram militant. Now, when you listen to it, the statement of the president is trying to absorb itself of any blame in whatever went down on Friday. What's your take on this? Because a lot of people have been saying the Buhari presidency seems to be behind us.
Well, as far as I know, the chief security officer of this nation is President Muhammadu Buhari. If any negative action impliedly is coming from any of the security agencies, it is not going to be wrong for any commoner citizen to conclude that that particular wrong committed by the agency of the government is coming from the chief security officer, which of course the president represents and the entire presidency represents. So if the citizens are saying that what happened to Sowore in the court, in the Justice Ojukwu court, was as a result of the order of the presidency, you won't blame them. You won't blame them if you know that the DSS, in quote, reports directly to the presidency. In fact, the DSS is under the presidency. So nobody should raise any eyebrow about that. My concern as a person is that it appears the DSS and the presidency have taken a conclusive position about Sowore. They've agreed that this guy is guilty. If they had their way,
some people say they want to keep him out of circulation.
Well,
could that be true? From what we're seeing,
that may be true. The guy is out of circulation.
No.
Because said you are granted bail on social condition. Please reproduce him February 2nd or 3rd. 23rd. Thank you. So, but the DSS felt that if this guy is allowed to roam in circulation, it could constitute a very serious threat to them. So the best they could do is to hibernate. When they hibernated, that was not sufficient enough. They trooped into the courtroom to make sure that they forcefully picked them up. When they met with resistance, they retreated and eventually took him away. So what they are trying to do is to keep him out of the circulation. If anybody concludes like that, I think that person...
the guy said while he was in detention, they made overtures to him.
Oh, yes.
He mentioned names. Some people...
he mentioned names. I even want to admit that it is his word against their words. He might have mentioned them.
They did not deny that, but they said it happened a long time. That it was immediately after he was arrested in August.
Let's even believe that one. We may not have the privilege of having a kind of direct account of what actually transpired. This one, we watched it on TV. We saw the clips, that of the international community and the local reporters. We saw all of it. The question I'm asking is this: who could have given the order that immediately Sowore is released, please pick him up? What could have necessitated
and that drama went on for a very long time on TV. So something could have been done to avert that drama, but nothing was done.
It is not wrong for anybody to conclude that it was a script brilliantly and beautifully written by the DSS, submitted to the scrutiny of the presidency, and approved and given expressly, and the guys were mobilized to go and implement it. That is where I see it. If somebody said, I'm going to take over government by force or by revolution, I'm going to make sure that I move the mass of the people against your government, I'm going to make sure that I make the country ungovernable, fine. If you have him on tape, please provide all these charges. Press it against him in the court of law and make sure that the guy is made to face the wrong, the law. And if the guy is found guilty, let the court jail him. Why don't you just allow the process to
run?
Why is it that somebody somewhere is inhibiting this process? That's my fear. See, Femi Falana said something. It was very, very important. He said that we allow this country to be run on the principle of law, or we resort to gangsterism. He said that of the two. He said that as a sitting government, you allow the free flow of the rule of law, or you allow people to begin to help themselves. If you look at all facets of our life, is it our election? Is it public service? Name it. You see,
there's somebody always trying to control the outcome. Is that what you're saying?
That is it. It means that an average African leader does not understand the intricacy and the importance of law in a society.
About democracy. They
don't understand it. What they want is that if it is election, we must win at all time. If it is economy, we must have everything. If it is, making sure that everybody is not talking, then we must deploy the institution of government to make sure that we run some set of people down. That is not the way to advance the cause of development in society. My brother, the country the way it is, there's no need for any sitting chief executive officer to be afraid of an entity, an individual. Even if it's threatening fire and brimstone that I'm going to move the mass of the entire nation. If you, as a chief executive officer, you understand and you appreciate the fact that you are in constant touch with the electorate, you are in constant touch with the citizen, and what you are doing is dovetailing to their happiness, to their well-being, and is giving them the expected hope they have in you. If anybody is talking about, I'm going to bring the whole roof down, you should worry a little.
Yes.
President Jonathan was, a sitting president, when all manners of darts were thrown at him. some negative things were said about his government. Some, frontally,
About his family.
a virtual buffon.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So they said all manners of things. The man did not say the entire rule of law must be subverted just because they wanted second time at all cost. So what I'm saying here is this: we must be interested in the health and happiness of the system. We must be interested in the system in such a way that it will deliver good to everybody that is citizens of Nigeria. We don't really need politics as citizens. What we need is good government. What we need is leadership that will understand how a society is driven in a path of development. That is what is important.
Absolutely.
And that is the only thing that can keep us moving.
Okay, let's talk a little bit of law. Barrister Maraki Ogele, is there any way? Is there any way that the judiciary can punish what went down on Friday? Is there anything that a court can do in that regard?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, when I pick from the store of my knowledge, I know that what they have done per se is a contempt of court.
And they can be charged for that.
Contempt of court at the face of the court, not outside the court. So by the time a judge is sitting, you invaded the court, then you have committed contempt.
You know why I'm asking you this question? I remember the incident, the case of the former governor of Ekiti State, of Aoshe. There was the incident of court invasion at that time as well. This one is happening again. Is there anything that is there anything that the judiciary can do to check this?
That is why I'll be challenging all our attorney generals in Nigeria. Any government that trampling with the rule of law, we still say let me tell you something. When you drag people, the citizen, from public arena, where debates are free, where freedom of speech are free, then you drag them to cellars where revolutions are born. That is what they don't know. Let me tell you, what they have done so far so good. If it is a decent society, the DSS will have been arrested now. All those that participated in that ugly incident must have been sacked now. Look, let me tell you something. A beautiful example is this. When Oshibaji was acting as our president, they invaded National House Assembly. Immediately, he called the director of the DSS and let him off. Go back. Go away. We can't tolerate you. You have destroyed rule of law. Why are you invading National House Assembly? This is what we have to say. So the kitchen cabinet, they are the one doing all this. And let me tell you something. What is their business after they have arrested Sowore to go and meet him again? And like he has rightly said, something is fishy between two of them, which we don't know. But later or soon, everything will be open for everybody. And like I told you, by now, I think we lawyers, we have our own share of the blame. Now I've been saying this, it's not enough for lawyers to go to law dinner, to be given a lecture of rule of law. What has he contributed to this rule of law? Now, I attended our dinner I think last Saturday. Then one Sunday, name with it, deliver a lecture about rule of law. Now, I was about to react when you can't go. They check me, please. They know what we're going to say. I will have asked him, what have you done about rule of law? Apart from glorifying me and Fem Falan in this country. Where is the lawyer? Tell me the name of any lawyer that is now sharpening the rule of law, that is now covering the rule of law, that is now making sure. Thank you very much.
Social advocacy.
Thank you very much. That rule of law is existing. No one of them. But let me tell you, all the lawyers we have, most of them, I'm very sorry. I belong to that group. Yes. You see, we are just men of a jeep, any government in power. That is why in my state here.
You're referring to Ekiti?
Yes. I've seen a lawyer romancing with Fayoshe, a girl romancing with Fayemi, romancing with Tony, every government. That's why I see some of lawyers, we are jeep.
Any government in power? Okay.
And also, this is where now we have to test the power of the bar and the bench. If DSS are those who perpetrated that crime go free, then there's nothing left in this country.
Okay. Some people have called on Buhari to sack the DG of DSS. That is Bichi. But when you read through the statement of the president from the presidency, you know definitely that this cannot happen. And they said if Buhari should he refuse to sack the DSS DG, then the National Assembly should start impeachment process. But again, that's a National Assembly populated by APC members, and you know how politics works in this country. What do you think? How do you think that this can be checked permanently so that it does not occur again? Reoccur?
I'm going to situate it in the desecration of the hallowed chambers of the court, and this is what I'm going to say. The way our constitution is fashioned, and as it has been proven recently at the Presidential Elections Petitions Tribunal, anybody can be the president of a country. You don't need to be educated, you don't even need to be intelligent. Even a buffoon can be the president of any country if you run the same way we run this country. Anybody can be in the legislative arm of government. We've seen criminals getting into the Senate and the House of Representatives. We've had, even right now, we know that there are people who are drug peddlers, 419ers that are seated there.
One of them was just jailed.
Yeah, the third arm of government, which is the judiciary, is exclusively exclusive. You cannot head that group, that arm of government, except you have reached the top of your profession. That is the only arm of government that demands maximum professionalism.
Yes.
So when you find lawyers who are expected to be protectors of their existence, doing some of the things we see these days, then you wonder why this country is not moving forward. I would expect, and the presidency understands what it's doing. This is what we call power. This is how you do power. You consolidate power. And that's why you found the removal of Onogen at that time. And a lot of things being done in the system. The most recent being the hate speech bill that was proposed. All those things are from the presidency. Forget about all the attempts to excuse themselves from it. That's how you consolidate power in Africa. And what you do after that time is to begin the Mugabe treatment. It's an elongation of your capacity to rule the people either directly or by proxy. Those are the processes you put in place. Going back to that question, I think I challenge the lawyers. For me, if I was heading the judiciary, one of the first things I'll do is to ask that every case of the DSA should not be heard in any court of law.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that any case that has the federal government involved in it should not be heard, because you must exercise your independence.
Your power, yeah.
It's the same thing that happened in Ondo State recently when we discussed the issue of the executive governor going into the chambers of the legislators and then talking to them, and we said that look, you must understand. I think there's a lot of ignorance. The legislative chamber the legislative arm of government is the true representatives of the people. The executive arm is the servant of the people.
But will you blame those guys? Sometimes when you look at the constitution of those,
that's why
the House of Assembly, some of them are handpicked.
That is why how you consolidate
because of our time. Let me quickly the demands made by the NBA, the Nigeria Bar Association. They made 4 demands that the federal government of Nigeria and the National Assembly immediately investigate the shameful conduct by the DSS and ensure that all persons found culpable are duly punished in accordance with the law. 2, the immediate suspension of the Director General of the Department of State Security from office. We make this demand bearing in mind the fact that the DSS, under its leadership, has established itself as a brutish and irresponsible agency that derives immense pleasure from violating the fundamental rights of Nigerians and disrespecting court orders. 3, that the National Assembly should review the law setting up the DSS and indeed all security agencies in Nigeria with a view to repositioning them to be more responsible and responsive to the public. 4, that the Attorney General of the Federation, being the chief law officer of the Federation, takes over all the political cases or cases involving politically exposed persons presently handled by the DSS. What do you make of this, Barrister Morakiangole, the demands of the NBA?
What do they say will be the consequence of all those conditions if they have not been observed at all? Let me tell you, he who expresses his mind on a certain issue does not call by anybody to justify the truth. These are just empty threats that we have looked at. Empty threat. What is going to happen? Now let me tell you something. Some of our colleagues are under prosecution for money laundering. let me tell you. Some of them, they are facing criminal charges here and there. And what will be, the only thing, you see, I forced some lawyers yesterday that the only solution we can do is to close down the courts. Close down every court.
Boycott.
Yes.
Complete boycott.
It may be a year, it may be 2 years.
Complete boycott.
Let's all go back to farm. If we don't have anything to eat. So by issuing all this empty threat, that's empty threat, I can call it.
You see, it will not avail much.
Nothing will come out of it. The only thing we can do is that, first of all, we must protest the Attorney General. That's AGF should be sacked, should be removed. They are now saying it should take over. They are still begging the question. Remove this man completely. He said disgrace to rule of law. I can say it anywhere, any day.
Okay, Barrister, because of our time.
So all this,
the international community is also lending its voice in this matter. A member of the U.S. Senate Foreign Relations Committee, that is Senator Bob Menendez, also has something to say about this case.
New Jersey is watching, the United States is watching, and the world is watching. I fear that the blatant harassment of Mr. Sowore and activists and journalists whose only crime appears to be exercising his right to free expression is becoming symptomatic of increasingly closing political and civic space in Nigeria. The Nigerian court had twice ordered his release on bail, and the state security agencies openly defied the court order each time, leading me to conclude either that Nigeria no longer respects the rule of law, or President Buhari is woefully out of touch with what agents of his government are doing in his name. This is unacceptable in a country that calls itself a democracy. Please join us. I'm sorry, we have time constraints, so we started, but touch with what agents of his government are doing in his name. This is unacceptable in a country that calls itself a democracy. Freedom of the press is a fundamental pillar of democracy and an indispensable check on government overreach. Journalists who risk their lives to expose the truth should be celebrated, not incarcerated. Over 200 years ago, our founding fathers had the foresight to recognize the
they interpret our constitution as it suits that situation in their hands. That's what they have done. In the case of Buhari versus Atiku versus Buhari, they just interpret the constitution that may suit the situation.
Okay. Because of our time, let's quickly end that there. I also want to do something that is very important on this show. It has nothing to do with Sowore. I know Nigerians must have been hearing about the finance bill. I think we should mention that. Maybe next week we'll discuss that fully. I don't know if Nigerians know that by January next year, yes, if you do not have a TIN number, that is tax identification number, you will not be able to operate a bank account in Nigeria. Mr. Ogule, will you quickly explain that in a few words?
Okay, this is it here.
Because I think it's taken off January 2.
Yeah, January 2.
Just few days from now.
What the president did was that when he was submitting the appropriation bill, he submitted the finance bill alongside with it. Under the military, what we normally do is they amend that particular sections of the Company Income Tax Act, the Personal Income Tax Act, Value-Added Tax Act, and the Petroleum Profit Tax Act. They will just amend and include it in their appropriation bill and send it. But this time around, they prepared the finance bill rather separately, and the appropriation bill separately. So it's not new. So what they have done is to make it in separate form. And what they are trying to do is to look at our tax law, there are areas of conflicts, and there are areas they need to remove so that they can expand the tax net base. How are they going to expand it? Everybody must be made to pay taxes. Everybody must be made to go through what I call a single financial clearing system. The federal government is trying to speed up its financial inclusion advocacy. And if you are trying to do that, then you must make it in such a way that every other persons in the country that are operating bank accounts must have tax identification number. There are 3 advantages. One.
Let's not talk about it. Maybe we can do that next week. What I'm saying is that I'm not sure you know, but many Nigerians do not have a tax identification number.
It's automatic. It's BVN. Every Nigerian.
Yes. If what I'm saying is this: if you have done these 3 things, one, if you have a
BVN number,
yes, if you have a BVN number, yes. You have it. There's a particular website where you go or code.
You can check your
thing. That's one. 2, if you have registered with the
Corporate Affairs Commission,
Identity Management in NIMS,
yes, you get, of course, automatically to come with it. Then number 3, if you have maybe your driver's license, your international passport.
If you have a company registered with CAC, it's automatic.
Automatically it will come with it. Okay. So if you have done all of these 3, you only need to access.
You're home dry.
Yes, you only need to access all the platform where you can get your thing. But if you have not, what you need to do is to walk into your maybe Board of Internal Revenue or Federal Revenue Service in your state. They will directly
because I know a lot of Nigerians are worried. A lot of Nigerians have not even heard about it. They don't even know. They do not go to the bank from
No. It can't even stop you. If you have your BVN, it's automatic.
It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal.
It's automatic.
What they are saying now is that don't have this pain. You can't go to any bank.
No.
Tax identification number.
Tax identification number 10. It's not a big deal. If you approach the bank, if they say you have not provided your thing, just supply them your
BVN.
They help you scoop it out and they give it to you.
Okay.
I think almost everybody.
I think Nigerians are happy now because a lot of people have been saying.
It's not a big deal.
Some people have been saying they will go and withdraw their money.
No. But
they do not run into trouble in January.
There's a very key point. Oftentimes we make the mistake of saying most Nigerians don't pay tax. Virtually most Nigerians pay tax. Either one way or the other. For instance, what about the taxes removed from
your salary?
What about the monies collected from Okada riders as there are portions of it.
There are
what about that?
Okay, because of our time.
There are different classes.
Because of our time. Thank you very much, Mr. Rotimi Ogule. Thank you very much for coming on the program, Mr. Rotimi Ogule. Mr. Maraki Ogule, thank you very much. And Mr. Zadok Kitoye, thank you very much for coming. My name is Vejida Anderson. This is where we draw the curtain on today's edition of the Roundtable. Join me same time next Monday for an entirely different topic. And we just might be talking about the finance bill. Thank you for listening.
Adaba 88.9 FM.
In the center